Inside the Virtual Astronomy Club, I give distances between stars or between objects in degrees. And as a new astronomer, it's quite hard to understand just how far, for example, 10 degrees is when you look up at the night sky. What I'm going to do in this video is show you that by just using your hands, it's loads easier to work out than you're expecting it to be. Just before I dive into how the hand shapes piece works, if you're enjoying these videos I'm producing, please just give me a thumbs up, click the like button below. That's really useful for getting me a bit more exposure on this new and quite small channel. And if you really like the work that I'm doing, then if you click the subscribe button, that would be fabulous. Thank you so much for your support. Okay, let's get into talking about measuring the night sky with our hands. We think of the sky as a dome surrounding the whole Earth. And the bit that we can see is one hemisphere of that, one half of that. And because the circle or the dome that surrounds the whole planet is a circle, that's 360 degrees. So if you think about the half that we can see from horizon to horizon is 180 degrees. Half of that is 90 degrees. Well, halfway between one horizon and the next is the zenith, is directly overhead. And then that means if I half that again to 45 degrees, what I'm looking at is midway between the horizon and the zenith. And that's all very well and good, that's fairly straightforward, but how do I measure distances that are shorter than that? How might I measure 5 degrees or 10 degrees or 1 degree, for example? Well, thankfully, we can use our hands to answer that question. And I'm going to take you through those simple hand shapes that we can use to measure some of the more common distances in the night sky. Whenever we use these hand shapes, we have to remember to hold our hands out at arm's length. Now that's on purpose because it standardizes the measurement across all people. If you think about it logically, the longer your arm, like mine, the more likely you are to have a bigger hand. The shorter you are, the more likely you are to have a smaller hand. Holding your hand out at arm's length calibrates it so that most people are roughly the same. Now this is not an exact science. My 10 degree measurement is going to be slightly different from your 10 degree measurement, but it's going to be close enough that it's going to help us orientate the night sky when we're looking for any particular object. So let's look at those individual hand shapes. We'll start with the largest and work down to the smallest. So I'm going to start with the widest one first. I'll hold my hand out at arm's length, and the distance between my splayed thumb and pinky finger is the equivalent of about 25 degrees. Now if I, instead of using my thumb, I use my pointer finger, trying to coordinate that, if I use my pointer finger and my pinky finger, that distance is about 15 degrees when held at arm's length. Now if I close my fist, the width of my fist from here to here is the equivalent of about 10 degrees. And then I half that by holding the 3 middle fingers out at arm's length, and that is a 5 degree measurement. And then finally, the single pinky finger is about 1 degree wide. However, you need to take that with a pinch of salt. It's alright calibrating my whole hand at arm's length with your hand at arm's length, but actually the width of a pinky finger, there's quite a variety there. So 1 degree is an approximation. As I said a couple of times, these are approximate measurements, and you can calibrate your hand with something more fixed, which is the asterism, the Big Dipper, or the plough as it's known in Britain. That's the shape that's on the screen now, and you can see in between the major bright stars various measurements showing 5, 15, 25 degrees. And what you can do is calibrate your hand with those measurements. So if I was to hold up my pinky and pointer, which is roughly 15 degrees, and calibrate it with the stars in the Big Dipper that are 15 degrees apart, I might find that I just need to bring my hand a little bit closer to match it up, or that actually I'm not quite 15 degrees, I'm more like 13 degrees. In which case I can build that into how I use my hands for measuring the night sky. I know that either I'm going to have to just bend my arm a little bit to be more accurate, or the measurements that I've been using are slightly too small. Either way, bear in mind you're using this for directional work. So a guide might say to you that Jupiter tonight is 5 degrees east of the moon. You look out at the moon, you see various bright stars around it, you're not sure which one is Jupiter. You've got the 5-degree measurement, which is your 3 middle fingers. Hold those up at the moon at one side, bright star at the other, is probably Jupiter. And that's what we're using this for. And that's it. It really is that simple. So next time you're outside doing some astronomy, why don't you give it a go? See how your hand shape compares to the Big Dipper, and then use it to find the distance from one star to another, or of course from the object. If you're looking for a galaxy, if you're a member of the Virtual Astronomy Club, for example, there's a link to that below, then why not try locating the right part of the sky using the degrees measurement that I give you from any particularly bright star. There is more detail to be had, bit too much for this video, but if you want to examine it, then click on the link below the video. That will take you to my article on Love the Night Sky, and you can find out even more about using hand shapes for measuring distances. I hope you've enjoyed that, and I wish you clear skies.